Okay, this is going to be the beginning for general psych and honors. I'm not going to do two different lectures. I was going to do one on each of the topic areas. So this is the start of abnormal, and it'll be like 1,015-minute videos because I don't want to be too long because I don't want you to roll your eyes or fall asleep. And now you can use your cell phone without even me seeing you. Anyway, um, let's look at the chapter. Okay, so this chapter is on abnormal. Nobody can ruin this stuff. This stuff is so interesting. It teaches itself. So now the book becomes a lot more important because you can always email me or call me or something, and I'll try to explain things to you. But they're kicking everybody off campus, so you even can't come by anymore. Anyway, the first thing, what would be the definition of abnormal behavior? We have state hospitals, right? Funny thing is, there isn't a definite universal definition of abnormal behavior. Some psychologists don't even believe there any abnormal behavior, just human behavior. But we do not have a universal definition that defines abnormality. You go, wait a second, Julian, we got a whole place of people in state hospitals. How do they define abnormality? Well, we have basically four different ways to define abnormality. One is statistical, and this is the DSM-5, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, is based diagnostic and statistical is basically said if you are 2 standard deviations away from the mean, you're abnormal. Great definition. So I mean, 64% of people are normal, and then that 4% of both ends are abnormal. And we have one in 10, 1 in 8% are abnormal. Works perfectly with the bell curve. But the problem with statistical manual definition is we could go overboard on this. For instance, if you brush your teeth for more than 5 minutes, oh my God, you're abnormal. Or if you eat 25 donuts in one sitting, you're abnormal. Obviously, that's no reason to put you in a state hospital. But statistical model is very thing is most people do it this way. If you are 2 standard deviations away from the mean for doing this, then you're abnormal. Um, the medical model, it's getting a big play now because of drugs and stuff. But the medical model is simply defined as abnormalities of mental illness. It's a physical problem with a psychological cause. Usually neurotransmitters or things like serotonin with depression, dopamine with schizophrenia, and so forth. So the medical model is abnormality is an illness. So then there's a cultural model, and basically that's how society defines behavior. So if you walk down William's campus nude, throwing throwing garlic bundles at people, we might think you're a little weird, especially in the winter because it's cold. But anyway, so culturally is defined by the culture. The problem with this is in one culture, something's acceptable and something's not. For instance, if you hallucinate in the United States, well, we think you're weird. But if you are in Jamaica and you're in voodoo something and you're hallucinating, or if you're in Africa and you're hallucinating, you may be special. So the fact is that certain behaviors are acceptable in some cultures and some not. So that, again, it can't be universal. Um, for instance, I'm Presbyterian. Can't spell it, but I'm Presbyterian. We can't be possessed by the devil. If you're Catholic, you can be possessed by the devil. So again, that's a cultural kind of definition. My favorite is, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but good old French. You gotta love the French. If in France you catch your significant other with someone else uh, during your time of the month and you kill your significant other, not the other person, that's considered a crime of passion, not murder. In the United States, it's murder. So if you want to get rid of your husband, then go to Paris. Well, you can't go now because of fires. Go to Paris, send him with a hooker, shoot him, take all your money and marry the young guy you wanted to marry anyone for beginning in the first place. Anyway, it's cultural. And then the fourth definition of abnormality is adaptive model. An adaptive model means, can you adapt to life? And we're having a terrible time now adapting to all this crap that's going on. So it maybe all be abnormal before the next couple of weeks. But basically, normal behavior is adapting to the situation, adapting to life. So homeless people, a lot of homeless people are abnormal because they can't adapt. They, the way they live and stuff. So, but again, we can take this too far. You're college students. What should college students do? Study. And if you're not studying, you're not adapting, you're abnormal. So again, you can see we can use these definitions and you can see the usefulness of them, but you can also see why they are not considered universal. So we don't have universal definition. So on the test, when I ask you for a universal definition, when I ask you for the definition of abnormality, you put there is none. Okay, that's 2 points right there. Okay. And then another problem with abnormality, the book talks about Rosenthal's study where he got some friends. He got some great friends, and they pretended to be crazy. Well, that's not a psychological term. They pretended to be abnormal, and they were. That's when you could self commit yourself to an institution, and 7 out of the 8 were labeled schizophrenics, which they were not. And so then the staff saw schizophrenic behaviors in them, which they weren't. So as soon as we label somebody abnormal, it causes all kinds of problems. So with Rosenthal's study, basically was, once we label somebody, that causes all kinds of problems. Now, I'm going to stop here and to see if this thing works. And then the next one will be in anxiety disorders, and I'm going to go through the thing. And then once I finish the stuff first that's on abnormal sexual behavior, then your rape homework will be due, because that's supposed to measure abnormal behavior. I don't know, but anyway. And then when I finish all of the different abnormalities, then you could do the second part of the homework. And I'm setting up some stuff on ALNet, so there's some things you can look at to help explain some of the stuff that we have. Getting a lot of help doing this, so hopefully it'll work. So this is your first installment of abnormality, and we got a lot more coming.